Good morning, students. Today's topic is dendrimers. Dendrimers are nanomolecules, and they have a three-dimensional structure, and they have a core in the center. It's a multifunctional core. Dendrimers basically have three components: your multifunctional core, then branching is called dendritic structure, and then the dendrons, or you can say and group. uh, these are different functional groups. So dendrimers are nanomolecules starting with a multifunctional core. So this core, it's a pictorial description of dendrimer. If you could see, this is this our core. This core have three branching, and as you move further, the branching increases. So first part, these core, then G1, G2, G3, G4, they have shown 4 generations. So that is like 4 different layers of branching. This is done to increase the branching in the dendrimers. So it's like a onion have layer of skin one above the other. Similar to that, these dendritic structures are there. These are branching. So second component is your dendritic structure, and you can also say branching. Third is your exterior surface functional groups. These functional groups, these branching like structure could be your alkane groups or CH2, CONH, CH2. That could depend what kind of property you want to give to the dendrimers. Depending on that, the core is chosen, the branching is chosen, the functional groups are chosen. Okay. Third was and group, or you can say your functional groups, which may in turn be terminal and groups, are located on the surface of dendrimers. So whatever functional groups that are present on the surface are called and groups or and group functional groups. These dictate the properties of the dendrimers. They will be the deciding factor whether your dendrimer will be lyophilic, lyophobic, hydrophilic, or hydrophobic, or it is a positively charged species or negatively charged or neutral. So that all those properties are defined by these functional groups. And these branching will have cavities. um, Depending upon the requirement of the size of cavity, other properties, these dendrimers are designed. For example, you are designing a dendrimer um, for some drug delivery. You want to deliver a drug to one of the specific part of human body, and for that you have to design a dendrimer. So before designing, you should be able to identify the properties that are required by that particular dendrimer. Very first, non-toxic. It should be non-toxic. It should pass your blood barriers so that it reaches its destination. Third, it should properly accommodate your medication. Fourth, it should release that particular medication once it reaches its destination. So depending upon the, and it should be easily removed from the body also, like it should not accumulate in the body. So these are the properties that you will be requiring in that particular dendrimer. So depending upon the requirement and use of the dendrimer, you will first decide the properties required, and then you design. Then you choose your components, what you will be using to synthesize that particular dendrimer. So in that way, it's done. Now, depending upon the AND group, what is the nature of your AND group? Dendrimer could have different shapes, different stability, solubility, rigidity, flexicity, viscosity. So all these properties finally govern what will be the outcome of your dendrimer. So we can vary the end groups, and we can vary the shapes, or we can vary the stability or solubility in some particular solvents. All those things can be dictated by varying the AND groups. The number of terminal groups of desired functionality increases with increasing number of generation. Now, like in this diagram, you could see there are 4 generations, and the branching has increased to a very high level. If the only we had only second generation branching, then the AND groups would have been very less in number: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Only 8 AND groups would have been there. But now the number has increased many folds. So depending upon what is required from the dendrimer, we increase or decrease the branching. Modification of the branching units changes density of the dendrimer molecule. Now, using what units we are preparing our branching, we can vary the density. So density change is also possible, and it is also very important. For example, if we have to accommodate a bigger molecule in the cavity, then we will be taking something which is less in density. Something for branching will be a component which will have less density, and more space is empty in the inside of our dendrimer. And if we have to accommodate a smaller molecule, smaller guest molecule, then we will be taking something that is high in density and fill up the space so that the cavity size decreases. So the density is also important for the host guest chemistry, which make use of the areas of lower density to accommodate. Appropriate choice of branching modules permit selective inclusion of guest molecule apart from solvent in a dendrimer without any need for performed vacant cavities. So what it says is, if we choose the branching module appropriately, we could make them very selective for particular guest molecules. Like if we have to accommodate something of, let's say, 40 Armstrong or 4 nanometer, we will be keeping our cavity of the appropriate size. If we do not have any means to make a cavity of around 4 to 5 nanometer, then it will be very hard to be selective for that particular guest molecule to accommodate. Let's say we have a dendrimer of cavity 10 nanometer. So ranging from the smaller guest molecule up to the 10 nanometer can be accommodated depending upon the charge and all those things also matter. But depending upon size, from smaller sizes up to 10 nanometer, the guest molecule can be accommodated. So depending upon size, you cannot be specific. If your if your cavity is not of the fixed diameter. So it is very important uh, while synthesizing your dendrimer that you choose your branching modules wisely. Okay. Now, biocompatibility study of dendrimers. Dendrimers are very much used in the biological uses, or you can say drug delivery vehicle. For drug delivery, sometimes we have some drugs that, let's take an example of cancer. Cancer drugs are they not only affect your cancer cells but also affects the healthy cells also, but we do not want that. We do not want side effects of cancer drugs. So in order to avoid that, some drug carriers are synthesized in such a way that they do not um, go to the healthy cells. They just go and accumulate in the cancer cells. There they release the drugs so that those drugs could be site specific. So in that purpose, dendrimers can be used. And for cancer drugs to be transported from your, let's say you are taking those drugs orally, so from mouth to the site of cancer, those drugs do not affect any healthy cells to keep them preserved and to carry them till it reaches the cancer tissue. Dendrimer can be used as a vehicle and to as a cover so that the drug doesn't get released anywhere else. Once it reaches there some, due to the some slightly difference in properties of cancer cell from the healthy cells, these dendrimer will break down there and the drug gets released there. Now for that purpose, for dendrimers to act as a drug carrier, the very first requirement is it should be non-toxic. Second, able to cross the biological barrier. So these are the properties that are required from dendrimers in order for it to be a drug delivery vehicle. Able to circulate in the body for the time needed to have a clinical effects. Let's say some drug is required to be there in the body for 12 hours. So but your biological system uh, excretes it in within 4 hours, then what we have to do, we have to repeatedly take that medicine after an interval of 4 hours to increase that time limit. Dendrimers can be used, and those dendrimers should be in such a way that they remain in the body for the required time period, and they slowly release the drug molecules in the body so that the drug is present in the body for the required timeline. So the property is non-toxic, able to cross biological barrier and able to circulate in the body for the time needed to have the clinical effect. Now, when the scientists studied the dendrimers, what they found that they can synthesize neutral dendrimers, positive dendrimers, or negatively charged dendrimers. Depending upon the end group and functional groups, they can design neutral, positive, and negative dendrimers. But they also found one more thing, that there is a difference in toxicity of neutral, cationic, and anionic dendrimers. What they found is neutral and anionic group have less toxicity than that of the cationic dendrimers. Now, let's say they have no other way but to use cationic dendrimer. So, with slight modifications in the cationic dendrimer, they could decrease the toxicity. Let's say instead of all the positively charged functional group, they could add some of the neutral functional groups in the AND groups, so that the toxicity decreases to a tolerable level. So that ways they could modify the properties of the dendrimers. Now there are two words, biopermeability and biodegradability. Biopermeable, that we have already discussed, that it should be able to cross the body barriers present in the body, biological barriers. Dendrimer should be able to cross that in order to act as a drug delivery vehicle. Second, it should be biodegradable, like it should not accumulate in the body and have any side effects. It should degrade in a required time frame. Now, if we are using dendrimers as a biological agents, they should be fine tuned to have some properties, and those properties should be non-toxic. Let's say if we are using dendrimers in order to prepare some vaccine, then the very least like the least important, or I should say the minimum criteria that the dendrimers should fulfill is that should be non-toxic, they should be non-immunogenic, they should not affect your immune system in a negative way, biopermeable, they should cross bio barriers like your intestine, blood tissue barriers, cell membranes, or bacterial membranes, able to stay in circulation for the time frame required to have the clinical effect. And the last one, able to target specific biological structures. Now, when we talk about the applications of dendrimer in biology and medicine is in gene therapy and drug delivery, in vaccines, tissue engineering, and imaging. So gene and drug delivery is simple, vaccines are also simple. Tissue engineering is let's say you have you take an example of cornea wound. So some of the dendrimers that has high density functional groups present and have low viscosities, those can be used as a scalant for filling the cornea wounds. That will make a patch kind of cover on your wound and help in healing up that particular wound. For the imaging, there are various techniques, MRI, CT scan, all those things. So in that, as a contrast agent, dendrimers have applications.